Okay, we are now on number 10, which is the design. All right, so everything we've done up to this point is just setting up the book. Oops, I have the wrong document up, so let me go over here. Um, Everything we've done so far has just been setting all of her text in our template. So now we're ready for the design. Now, if my author had chosen to do just one of the simple template-based styles, I would leave the chapter title like this, but this is a custom job. And so I'm going to customize the title, whether I place a graphic here or, you know, I don't want to add any spaces or any hard line breaks because of all of the text variables that we have set up. So typically what I do is I will just move this text frame off this first chapter title page. We'll have to redo this a little bit for the ebook, but for the print book, this works. And that way I can build my chapter title here. Now, the first thing in the design step is to figure out what book size it is. So I need to check my author notes, and her book size is 5 by 8. So the thing to note is that the template is 6 by 9, so we need to adjust that. It's quite easy. InDesign makes it super easy these days by going to File, Adjust Layout. Now, if you go to Document Setup, you can change the width and the height here, but that doesn't adjust the layout. So instead, we go to Adjust Layout, which you can get to on the Document Setup menu, or you can go to File, Adjust Layout. It's good to just go directly to Adjust Layout on the File menu, and that way you will remember to make sure the layout is adjusted. So if we look at that, the code, the shortcut code is Alt-Shift-P. Alt-Shift-P brings up the same thing. We're going to change it to 5 by 8. I'm going to verify it with her notes again. And we do not need to do anything else. We don't want to adjust the margins because I want to keep them the same. We don't need to change the bleed, and we don't need to adjust the font size. Everything else stays the same. You can adjust the lock content. That doesn't matter. That just means that anything that's locked, and I don't think we have anything locked in this template unless this is locked. And then we're going to click on OK. So what InDesign is going to do is it's going to go through all the master pages and all the pages within the document, and it's going to resize the text frames to fit our new page size, but keep our margins the same. So it's going to make everything smaller since we're going from 6 by 9 to 5 by 8. So sometimes this takes a few minutes. So we're going to let InDesign do its thing. Now, several years ago, we didn't have this ability and we had to change manually page by page. But thank goodness to adjust layout, we don't have to go page by page. Now, if for some reason adjust layout didn't work for you and you have to go page by page, that is because you did not place your document in the master text frame. You need to make sure you set it up in the master text frame. That is very essential. Otherwise, InDesign doesn't see it as part of the overall layout and it doesn't adjust it accordingly. So that is often a mistake that people make. And InDesign is still thinking. Now the key is with pretty much any Adobe programs, you really want a robust computer to be able to handle these types of tasks. Because as you see, InDesign was readjusting, a document that was it was just a little over 250 pages, but now that we changed the page size, it has now adjusted to over 300. So now everything is set to 5 by 8, and all our guidelines are now off. So we need to go in and clear those. So I am just going to go in and clear our guides just so they don't distract us. And I will go to View, Grids and Guides, and I'm just going to delete all guides on the spread. And that way we don't have the distracting grid lines that are not accurate anymore. All right, so now everything is set to 5 by 8, and that is step 1 in the design process. Now that we've got it set up, we need to think about how we want to style this. And since this is a custom job, I like to integrate the book title the cover somehow. So the cover for this particular document is this. So we have the broken glass and we have the tulips and we have the font. She gave me the name of it. I do not have, and it's an expensive font. I think it was like a $60 font. So I am not going to purchase the font. I found an alternative to it that I will use. I mean, if it was a very special, unique font and the author absolutely wanted it, I may adjust, I may purchase it, but I would, put that cost on them a bit. Probably not the whole cost because it's probably a font I will use again. But for this one, this is a sans serif font. It doesn't look much different than anything else, and I found a suitable alternative, so I'm going to keep it. Now, this font right here is another one that she uses, and this is the title of the duet. And I did purchase this one because it was fairly cheap, so I went ahead and got that one and installed it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go look for some graphics. I'm going to look for some shattered glass and some tulips and how we can maybe add some decorative elements on our chapter title page. But before I do that, I am going to do one thing. And this is something I don't believe I've done in other tutorials before, and it is about setting up a signature page. Now, a lot of these authors, they send out, like I know this particular author, she sends out books and she signs them and sends out books to people. So I am going to add a signature page. And what a signature page is just a page with a smaller title, and that's it. But what that's going to do is that's going to allow me to expand my artwork on the title page to two spreads. So to create a signature page, I'm going to go to the Pages panel. I'm going to insert before FMI, a new page based on the master, F title, no ornament or page number, and I'm going to click on OK. But now what? Everything is wrong. So I need to actually insert another page as a blank page so it can be after this one. All right. So now everything is fine, but we need to move this up here. All right, so that's going to be our new title page, and we'll be able to expand the artwork over 2 pages, and our signature page is going to be here. Now, for the signature page, I am going to delete this out in the ebook. This is only for the print book. So now I'm going to pause this video as I build, as I go look for graphics. You don't want to watch me fall down the rabbit hole of Deposit Photos or Shutterstock or some of the other ones that I use. So once I figure out what graphics I am going to use, I will be back and then I will walk you through the process of my styles. Again, I'm going to use the book title as my inspiration. And that's the beauty if you do both authors' book covers and interior formatting, is that you are able to kind of integrate them a little bit easier because you have the fonts and everything. So I am getting into more and more where I do the book book cover as well as the print book, so I can create a really integrated product. Okay, so I got a little ahead of myself and forgot to come back and record this. Um, so I'm going to show you what I've done so far. I went ahead and created a half title page. What I did is I created the chapter title page. I'm sorry, yeah, no, title page. And I just copied, and you'll notice that I have this set off to the side, like I told you before. And then I just copied this and pasted it on this first page and reduced it by half. Okay, so that's a good size for the chapter, for the signature page, and that way the author can sign this page for any books that they're giving away, for any signature books. And then I just created this in Photoshop. I just used a couple of images and repeated, let's see what I did with it. So what I do is, because this is a 5x8 book, um, we want any graphics that are going to go across a 2-page spread, we want them to be larger than the trim size. Okay, so this is a 5x8 book, and we need to add a quarter of an inch, I'm sorry, an eighth of an inch on the outside edges for the bleed. So to figure out the dimensions of a full page image you would need, you could basically draw your guide out to this red box area. And this red box area is our bleed. So it's our trim size plus our bleed, and we need the artwork to extend there. So that for a 5x8 book is 10.25 by 8.25. So what I did in Photoshop is I just created an image that was 10.25 by 8.25 at 300 pixels per inch. And let me go ahead and delete out the ones that I was playing with. So I'm going to show you my layers. I just used kind of a gradient background, and I converted it to black and white. This layer didn't have anything, so I'm going to delete that. Then I created this is going to be the reflection, and I tried to do a displacement map, but it just didn't look good, so I deleted that out. So this is an image that I found of these tulips, and I did some color correction. I know it looks funny right now, but this is but we have to convert it to black and white. If we used it as this, there's not enough, when we convert it to black and white, there is not enough contrast between the green and the purple. So I had to adjust the red and green levels so the green was lighter and the red was darker. And so that's why it looks funny like this. But when it converts to black and white, it'll look better. So then we add, this was just a brush. I have a collection of brushes from Ron, and this was just one of his brushes, Photoshop brushes, so I put that on top. Then I added a solid image of the tulips. So this first image is the reflection in the mirror, added the solid layer, and then we added the black and white, so that way they look better. So that is what our background image looks like. So I placed that here on our title page, and then I just styled the title page using the book cover as my guide, trying to keep the fonts similar and the way the duet title is on the cover. So I just tried to mimic that. The only thing I didn't do in the title was how it was broken. Like here's the H and part of the U and the T and the C. It was a little too complex for interiors like this. I don't take too much time to do that. If she has the title already done that way, then I will include it. But most of the time I try to keep it simple so it's readable. But I did set this as a 90% transparency and I set it to multiply so we can actually see the cracks through the title. So, you know, again, if she wants the title done differently, I will be happy to do so. But let me just make one adjustment here. I need to change the spacing here to make it match. So now this is fine for the print book, but this is not going to convert for the ebook. So for the ebook, we would need to make a copy of this and turn it to an image for the title page to look like this, or we would just use this basic title page here. But I don't delete this out because this contains this matches all our text variables, so we definitely want to keep that. All right, so now what I'm doing is I'm just going through and styling. I already picked out a font to try. Now, when I do customs for clients, sometimes I'll do two concepts, but in this case, I'm probably just going to start with one. And what I typically do is I'll create the one concept, I'll send it to them and say, hey, this is the first concept. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you don't like it, I will create another concept. If you do like it, we'll go with this. I used to do two concepts, but sometimes your first concept is exactly, it's exactly what they're looking for. So I don't waste too much time in creating another unless it's just some minor changes. So for this one, I may just go ahead and send her this concept and see what her thoughts are before I create another one. So I changed the chapter text font to Bimbo Standard. I wanted something, this is for kind of a romance, women's fiction, kind of a hybrid book. So I wanted something a little soft, and Bimbo is a great font. I'm actually going to reduce it. Right now it's 11 point, which might be a little bit too big. I'm actually just going to reduce it a hair and then redefine it. And that really didn't change it much, so I'm actually going to do 10.5 and then redefine my style. I think that will work better. Okay. And then I went ahead and set this in the railway, which is what we use for the title. And I actually set it to 90% since we have the title set to 90% as well. And I am going to reduce the space a little bit. Right now it's set to 1 inch. I'm going to reduce the space below to be 0.75. And that way we get the Love Colleen on this page. I think my line spacing is good. Usually when I go down in font, I will change the line spacing somewhat, but I think this will be good. And I may decide no, I think that'll be a good start. I think she likes hers a little bit higher, but I will send this to her just in case and see if this is good. All right, so for the dedication, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right align this unknown, and I am going to set this in a small cap, and I'm going to stretch it out. That's how I typically like to do like bylines for quotes and stuff like that. So we are going to name this byline, right? Anytime I do new styles, I always make sure, so this is now a style instead of making this an override. Now, this is an override because I put this in all caps, and all of these are overrides, but for the print book, it's okay. But for the ebook is where we want to clear out those overrides. And for the ebook, we're just going to do an image of this instead. One thing I just noticed, I had this at 50%, or 70%. Actually, I'm going to take that back to 90 just so, yeah, I think I like that better. Okay, so now we got our front matter set. I'm going to just go ahead and adjust this. I am going to set our header to be author name and then book title. And we're just going to go ahead and change this to the railway font. And I'm going to set it to medium. We're going to space it out, probably 200. We're going to set it all caps, and we're going to drop it down to 9. And I'm also going to change it to 90%. Then what we're going to do is just redefine the style, and it's going to adjust our page numbers and then our author name on the other side. And we're going to go back to the page that we were on, which is right here, and you will see that reflect here. Okay, and so our page numbers are here. We might be able to go down in size just a hair, so we can actually come in here and go to miscellaneous and edit our header and just drop it down to 8 points. And if you have your preview box checked, you will see it change. Okay, now because we set this to all caps, it also set our page numbers to all caps, but we don't want our page numbers here, since they are Roman numerals, they're supposed to be lowercase. We don't want them in all caps. So we are going to go to edit page numbers, and we are going to take that all caps off and set it to normal, so it will lowercase our page numbers. All right, so dedication is set. We're good there. Forward, dedication, the Truth Pact playlist. Yeah, this is probably where I'm going to spend a little bit of time. And I might start incorporating some different design elements to the title. And I think I'm going to do that with playlist. I'm actually going to set this to that script, which is Northwell. So I'm going to use Northwell Clean. I'm going to take it all caps, and I'm going to remove the tracking. I have this part tracked to 100. I'm going to remove that because I don't want it, and then I'm going to increase the size, and then I'm going to drop this down to the next. Now this is going to be a override, but to correct that, and let's actually kern this a little bit because we don't want the P touching the L that much. We are going to create a character style and just say script title accent. Click on OK. Now, when you create these, if you have this checked where apply style to selection, you always want that checked because it will apply that style to whatever you just did. But it doesn't default to that. And anytime you update InDesign, you lose that ability. So you just note that that sometimes will happen, and that goes when you create paragraph styles as well. I'm just going to zoom in and just correct some of these. We want the L touching the A. We want the Y to come over a little bit. Nope, and we're good with S. So that's kerned better. The L's kerned better now. And there we go. All right, so I think that looks nice. Now, I don't know exactly how I want to format this just yet. And I may decide, I may just find like a little tulip icon and just say the ones with the tulip absolutely wrecked me, and see if she would go for that. I'll often do that. And in this situation, what I may decide to do is, I may just decide to do something interesting here. I don't really like that it goes on 2 pages, but there's nothing we can do about that because this is a very long song list. So we need to go ahead and set this second page to be an A header so that the header and the page number comes. So let me think about this. We are going to make these all first para. All right, but we're going to make this one first para space above. And we may just leave them like that for a minute. Actually, you know what? Let's make these. This is kind of my whole thinking. This is railway. Let's see what they look like in the railway font. And we'll take the size down. We lost our bold, but we'll be able to put them back in. Okay. All right, so on the ones that are bold, you'll be able to figure it out. All right, so we need to go this, semi-bold, or actually bold. And then we're going to create a new character style and call it bold railway. Apply style to selection, click on OK. And we're going to figure out which ones she had bold before just by looking at the character style for it. All right, so we know this one, bold railway. This one, bold railway. This one, bold railway. And this one, bold railway. All right, so we are good there. And this only shows that there's some overrides because I did that kerning. But we'll have to get rid of that for the ebook because ebooks we can't kern. One thing I definitely want to do is this margin is a little bit too wide. Typically the margin is your font size. So we are going to go ahead and change it to see what that looks like. So we need to just type in 10.5 points. Yep, and I think that will look much better. We're going to redefine it. Okay. Okay, so here we go. All right, everything's looking good. I like that the titles are set in something different, so I like that. And I am going to actually set this part. I'm actually going to cut this. And I am going to copy. Let me check one thing. Did it have book 1? Yes. Edit, redo, and then we're going to paste. And then I'm just going to paste this here. And then I am actually going to scale it down to about 75%. And we're going to put it there. And then we are just going to build an override right here and drop this down. That looks good. And then we are going to come to this page and we are going to add our A header. And then we are going to set this right here in our byline right, but we are going to center it and we're going to call it byline center. And I'm actually going to set this in the railway light. We are going to take it off of the baseline grid. We're actually going to probably bump it up in size and just do some extra little decorative elements to it. So we're going to set this in the script, go up a lot, and then we are actually going to set this in 90% black. And I am just going to create a character style, script 2, just so I can select this and this. Beginning, I'm just going to do it beginning and then everything. And then we are going to drop this down. We're going to just add space above. All right, yes, that looks nice. All right, then I'm not going to worry about the contents page. Then we are going to go decorate our page titles, our chapter titles. So what I'm going to do for this one, I'm actually going to copy this. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to go ahead and paste it. Not quite sure if this is what I want to do, but we'll see. Edit, paste in place. Then we are going to arrange and send to back. And yeah, the text will stand out on its own there. So we're good. Yeah, I think that'll be good. So what we want to do is, one of the problems with doing this type of layout is that for pages that not all, this page would need to be blank every time, and that isn't always going to be the case. So we're going to need to consider some alternate layout for future chapters, but we'll get to that point. We'll think about that when we get there. So for this, I am going to set this in the railway, and we are going to use the medium because that's what we've been using. 200 is good. We are going to set it to, I think we'll keep this one at 100%, and we're going to change this one to 90. And I think that's good. We don't want any space after. And we are going to redefine. And then we are going to set this in the Northwell. Clean. We are going to set it to 90%. This is just how I do things. Just playing around, see what looks good. We are going to probably set it to 40% and change. We don't care that it is, it doesn't have to be on the baseline grid, so we're just going to adjust that. And that'll be good. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we are going to change the space below. We're actually going to change this to 0.75 because that's what we changed our chapter title, our other title pages, and then we're going to redefine the style. And I'm just going to look at this. I might adjust the kerning there and there. Nope, that goes over the B, so just in one spot. All right, so next what we're going to do is we are going to, she already had these in uppercase in her book, and we are going to see, we are going to change the drop cap because our drop cap currently is what we have in the style, in the template, which is avant-garde, and so we're going to change it to this railway. We actually might try the Northwell. We'll see how it looks. Sometimes to do script as drop caps, it can be a little difficult. So we are going to try it. Northwell clean, regular. And I do know that we want to go ahead and take it to 90% tint. I don't think I'm going to like that. So we are going to just go with railway. I think having it in this will be enough. So we're going to just choose railway, and we are going to choose railway light. I don't want it to be really dark. And um, for the drop cap, for that whole drop cap first pair drop cap, this is a whole nested style. So we have a 3-line drop cap for the first character, and then we have the drop cap 2 has 2 characters. And the character style for the drop cap is drop cap. So if we want to change this letter, we have to change it in the drop cap character style, which is what I just did. Now, I want to change this part. I want it to be in that railway, and I want it to be in that 90% gray. But to do that, I need to change the all caps um, character style. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to edit the all caps, and we are going to set that to railway. We are going to set it to light, and I'm going to track it. See, 100%, that might be too much. We will track it to 50, and then we want to change it to the black 90%. Okay, and we may decide to, instead of doing light, we may just go medium. Yep, there we go. Click on OK. All right, one thing you'll notice is that our page number isn't here. And the reason why is because our page number is on the same layer, but it's actually behind. So what I want to do is I want to select this image. I want to create a new layer, and I want to drag that image to that layer, and that will show our page numbers now. So little things like that you just need to pay attention to. All right, now I want to make an adjustment to where my headers are up here. I think I'm going to drop the page numbers down a little bit. So I'm actually going to go to my A header page. I'm actually going to go to my page numbers, and I'm just going to draw a guide. So to draw a guide in InDesign, it's kind of like Photoshop where you just drag from your ruler. And I'm actually going to put it at 7.7. 7.7. Okay. Let's do 7.65. Then I'm going to take these and I'm just going to drop them down here. Okay. And this gives me room to adjust my bottom margin. So to adjust my bottom margin, I want to go to my pages panel and select all the pages because we want to change the bottom margin in all the pages. So I'm just going to decrease it. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to gain another line here. And when you change margins, sometimes InDesign goes really, really slow if you have Adjust Layout selected. And we want to select Adjust Layout because what InDesign is going to do is it's going to change our text frames to match that bottom margin. So we don't have a full line just yet, so I'm just going to continue to adjust it until I do. All right, there we go. We have that extra line there now, so we are good. And one thing you need to do is we'll go back to our page numbers, and we will make sure they're still sitting where we wanted them to because our layout may have adjusted them. So we need to go 8 to, I think I said 7.65. So yes, it did move them. We're going to go to 7.7, and that's where we're going to drop them. So I'm going to just bring those up because sometimes you have to be careful with the adjust layout because it will move things that you don't want to. All right, so that gives us about a line between the bottom of the page and the page number, which is what we want. And up here, changing the upper margin can be a bit tricky, and I don't think I want to do that because we would need to add at least 15 points to add a whole nother line. We would need to add a whole nother line, and that may just put our text up too tall. So I'm not going to worry about doing that. I think this is going to be just fine the way it is. The thing is your page numbers and your, they don't have to be the same distance from the top of the page at all. Usually your bottom, your page numbers at the bottom are a little closer to the edge of the page. So we will just leave it like that and continue on. All right. I see, I'm not a fan. Okay, we are going to increase, we're going to change this. All right, so typically I don't get this complicated, but I don't like the way this is laying out. I think the page numbers are too low. We have too much space here. So sometimes I have to make these adjustments when we go from 6x9 to 5x8. So what I'm going to do is our grid space is 15 points. So I'm going to take 7.5 away. This is going to get really complicated. So we're going to choose our A header, our blank page, our page numbers, and our G header. All right, so I'm only selecting these that have the same top margin, whereas our others don't, where our other pages have a different top margin. So we are going to change our top margin here. We're going to take away 7.5 points, okay, because our grid is 15 points. So we're going to reduce it by half. We want it to adjust layout, so we're good. InDesign is going to calculate the math for us. And it will take a minute to adjust the layout. So I'm going to pause it. All right, so we'll come back and adjust this because since I adjusted layout, it moved things around. Then what we need to do is we need to go to our other pages and do the same thing to the top margin. We need to deduct it by 7.5 points. Okay, that way our pages, when we have a double page spread, our grids are still going to line up. So if you make a change to the top margin on the header pages, you need to make that change on your other pages as well for the grid to line up. Now, if you change the baseline grid, you have to do a bit more work than that. And I'll do another video on how to adjust that one day, but for now, we'll just leave it at this. We're going to look at our page numbers again. And I'm actually going to, so right now they're at 7.7. We're going to try 7.5. We're going to bring them up to 7.5. It's not really that much, but it's still about a line away. And then we are going to go to our header page and we are going to bring these to about 3 point, let's go 4. We'll try 3.75. That'll be good. Okay, so that's almost a line. So we're going to look at those pages and see if we're happy. Now, I do a lot of this visually, but there is some math to it. Okay. And actually, we can go up a little bit more. We're going to do it again. There is math to it. If you are into Nigel French, you can look at his book and he has this whole mathematical complex grid thing. I just do it by eye. All right, so we are going to minus, instead of 7.5, we're going to take 7.5, do 3.75. So we're going to minus 3.75 points. Let InDesign do the math. It's going to adjust our layout. This will probably work better if I did adjust my baseline grid, but I'm not going to. All right, I think that's going to work. All right, we're going to go back to our A header. I'm going to drag this line to be 0.4. Drop these down to 0.4. Then we're going to go to our page numbers. We're going to see where this comes out. This is 7.65. We're going to leave those there. All right, so I think I'm going to be good with that. Yep, I think that looks good. And so now that I've got everything set, I'm happy with everything. You'll notice this is yellow. That's just because it's a little spaced out. It doesn't meet our justification settings for our chapter text, and our justification settings are here. So we could tweak these, but I only like to tweak those if I see a lot of yellow. So if I see a lot of yellow, I will often change that. Now, one thing I will change, since we went down to a 5 by 8 from a 6 by 9, we don't need our runt setting to be as quite as large as I have it in the template. So our runt setting is a grep style, set up as a grep style, and it's this first one where it says apply no break. And what this means is that the bottom line of every paragraph needs to have 10 spaces. Okay, I meant 10 characters. So every line has at least 10 characters. So I am actually going to jump this down to 7 because we do not need 10 characters in a 5 by 8 book. We actually only need probably around 7, so I'm going to adjust that. And in some cases, if you have a lot of yellow, just changing that will clear up that. So you'll see that this yellow went away because it actually readjusted this whole line. So that's good. All right, so now what's going on here? Got some weirdness going on. We're going to thread this here. Yeah, sometimes things go wackadoodle, so we just had to rethread. And then we need to assign this the A header. And there we go. And that's okay. We're not too worried about that line. It's a lighter yellow. If they're darker yellow, that means they're more, they violate the rules a little bit more. So sometimes I will adjust those, but I think that's fine. And a lot of times if you just look at your print preview, it doesn't look spaced out, so you're good. All right, so now we are into the book. And we need to, sometimes what you can do is you could add another, between your prologue and your, where your book actually starts, you could add another half title page. But for this, we're not going to do that. We're going to figure out what we can do with the roses. So without causing any issues on that facing page. So I'm just copying this and I am going to go to this page and I'm going to paste in place and I'm going to send it to the back. I'm actually going to drop it down to this other layer so it will be behind all our page numbers. Then I'm going to flip it So I'm going to flip horizontal, and then I'm going to flip it again, flip vertical. All right, don't like that. I don't know if I'll be a fan of the roses, I mean, of the tulips coming from that. So I actually have another one that we're going to try where the tulips are smaller. Okay, all right, so in that case, we'll see. This is a little too much for the text here. I want to make sure we're still able to read it. So in that case, edit, Photoshop. I might create another one here. And we might change this to 50. Change this to 50. And then we are going to call this something different. Background 1A. And then we are going to replace this with that 1A. So it's lighter. And I'm still not a fan because it's just too distracting. You don't want things too distracting from your text. So for these pages, it works here, okay, because we've got this really light area of our image. So what we may decide to do is I may only do something for this page. So we may just do the glass and fade it out the rest of the page. So in that situation, I'm still not sold on upside down tulips, but we'll keep them that way. And what we're going to do is we are going to undo, and I'm going to turn this into a smart object. And we're going to go ahead and flip it the way it is. So we're going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontal, Edit, Transform, Flip Vertical. And we're going to move it. We need to move it over. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fade it. So I'm going to add a layer mask. And I'm just going to come here and fade it. I might fade it some more down here so this doesn't cover our text too much. Fade it a little bit more here. All right, so we're going to try this. So I'm going to save this. I save all of them just in case. You never know when I want to go back. So this one is going to be C. So we're going to try this. Because I actually flipped it in the Photoshop file. All right, so that's good. I think that'll work. But we need to fade it out a little bit more here. So what I am going to do, I'm actually going to fake this because not enough cut area is happening. So we're going to flip this one, image, edit, transform, flip horizontal. I always do that wrong. Edit, transform, flip vertical. And that way some of all the cut lines will be over there, which will be better. All right, so we're gonna close the, smart object, and then I am just going to fade this a little bit more right here. too much. All right, then we're going to save this again. All right. So the nice thing when you save things in Photoshop, all you have to do is update the link. So it'll tell you if the link is not updated. So you can go to your links panel. You'll see the little caution triangle, and then we're just going to update it. Much better. So we see more broken glass up here by switching it. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. So now what we're going to do, now that we have this determined, we are actually going to cut that and we are going to paste it onto our chapter title page. All right, so now it's in the master and it's in every single, so it'll show up on every single page that we assign the B thing to. Now we assigned B to this one, but I am actually going to duplicate the B chapter, duplicate master spread. I'm going to call it BA, and we're going to say full chapter title full. And this is going to be for those pages that, like this prologue, if we have a chapter, if we decide to start every chapter on a right-hand page, and so we might have some blank left-hand pages, we'll use this instead. Okay, so I have two chapter titles. I'm actually going to move this up below here, so that way they'll be together. And then I will go to my prologue and we will say apply that other master page. And there we go. So we got that. And then we got this. All right. So looking great. All right. Now, some cases I try to pay attention to, like here, this isn't all the way down to the bottom. We still have one row here, but the pages are balanced. Now, I typically don't worry about balancing pages, but since I'm doing this for a client, I like to present the first couple of pages exactly as they would be. So I go ahead and balance them so I can show her. So I I knew I could create another line with this paragraph by reducing the tracking to -10. That brought 2 lines here and that brought 3 lines here. So we now have a balanced page and I think this will look better. So sometimes I don't always do that, and sometimes I do. And here we can do it again. We can actually just increase this out, and that pushes it all the way down to the bottom. Minor tracking tweaks like that go very unnoticed. The big thing is don't try to do it more than 10, 20 if you can get away with it, either way. So -10, -20 is pushing it, 10 and 20 is pushing it the other way. But if I absolutely need something to fix, I will do 20. So that looks great. Now, I may decide to go ahead and tell all chapter numbers to start on an odd page. All right. So that way we can have those pages where we have the roses down in the corner here. I meant the tulips down in the corner. So we can assign that master page here. And then this page, we need to assign blank. So we don't have the header and the page number on that page. All right, so for some reason that is set higher. And then this one, so we need to go in and tweak that. I don't know if I accidentally moved it. So we need to just bring those down. And then we will reassign this. All right, it didn't change anything. Oh, okay, I see what the problem is. It's too low here. We need to pay attention to that because it was running into our chapter numbers. Why that happened, who knows? I could have easily adjusted it, messed it up somehow. But then we need to, I don't know why it's not really cooperating. InDesign can be wackadoodle sometimes. All right, so we'll just reassign that. All right, so that's good. All right, and here is another issue. We need to see where, all right, so we have 2 empty lines here, and this is 3 lines. So we need to figure out how we can fix this space. So we can actually push this out. And because we're not going to be able to get those 3 lines in, we'll see if we can, there we go. Sometimes you never know with those certain paragraphs, you can figure out which ones. Like we could, if we needed to create a space down here, we could have easily probably negative tracked this, but I have positive tracked both of these by only 10, and it gave me those 2 extra lines. All right, so here, see, this is why I do not like CMOS, because those are so spaced out. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some negative tracking to these. Let's see if that looks better. Don't think it looks any better, but because actually it should be a space here too. All right, so we are going to see how negative 200 looks. That's a great difference between 200. All right, so 150 might do it. Okay, I'm still not happy with the amount of space between these, but I'm not going to manually adjust every single one. We could easily probably get away with putting in a thin space. Again, some of these things you don't have to worry about but when they use CMOS, I usually worry about it. All right, so that changed it to CMOS. And then, but then you have, the reason why that's looking so bad is because of the full justification. So I am not even going to mess with these. We're just going to clear the overrides, and that's the way it is. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. That's why I don't use CMOS, but that's the way she had it set up. So we'll just keep it at that. And it's going to look different because of, let's go ahead and drag it down a little bit. Because of full justification, it's going to look funny. All right. So for this book, I may just, look at each one manually. I may look at all the ellipses manually, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. All right. So now we need to worry about doing something for the chapter scene breaks. And I am actually going to, found a tulip. Let's see, where did it? All right. I was hoping to find a full tulip. I didn't realize these were. This was only a half tulip. So instead, I'm going to look for tulip vector. Oh, and I have another site that I can check, Vecteezy, because I have an account here. I don't have to give. They have a bunch of free vectors here, but I do a membership with them, so I don't have to. On the free ones, you have to put, that you downloaded it from here, but when you have an account, you don't have to do that. So we're going to look for tulip. And we're going to see if we can find something that's kind of photo quality. Vecteezy is okay. There's some decent graphics, but not always something perfect. I don't know if a vector is going to be the way to go because we already have the photo, and this is just me thinking out loud. Sometimes my decision making can be lacking. I'm going to look at, see if I see anything. I want something that's kind of photo real because we already have the photos, and it's best to not, these might work actually. Yeah, we might just use like that one right there. Um, I don't like to mix a lot of mixed media kind of things, photos, and then we have the glass, and then we'll have this vector. So I try to do it minimally, and not only with covers, but with interiors as well, because sometimes that can really show, you know, inconsistencies and it just doesn't look as good. Oh, darn it. I downloaded this from Shutterstock. Didn't mean to do that. I should have paid attention what I was doing. But I think we can get away with this vector. We probably could have used one like that though. So we are trying to open this vector. Why aren't you opening? All right, there we go. So while this is doing it, I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop this actually, and we'll come back to part 2 of the design process.